What's up guys, my name's Damian Keyes, welcome to the channel. So this week I made a video called Stop Selling Music and I had over 500 comments within the first 24 hours. Lots of people who agreed with me, but a lot of people who didn't agree with me and wanted to get their point across. And it took me 24 hours to go through all the comment and start to actually get into these debates. And yesterday I made a second video which was about dealing with the fallout, dealing with the hate, and also dealing with the arguments that came about it, because it is my sincere belief that we are in a time where we need to stop focusing on selling music because there's other ways to monetize your art. And that's what this video is about. I'm not saying your music and your art is worthless. I'm saying it's priceless, it's amazing, it's fantastic. You should be getting paid for your art. I just don't feel like the way to get paid for your art is by selling it directly, which has been the tradition over the years. I think there are better ways, and that's what the video is about, and that's why there are many videos on my YouTube channel and what this video is about, which is how can we look to a new way to monetize the great stuff that you're doing rather than trying desperately to print CDs or print vinyl and sell them at gigs. So before we look at these ways to monetize your music, I want to look at two of the main problems we are facing. Number one is the decline of sales, the decline of music being sold because of streaming. Now, a lot of people were arguing about this, saying people still buy music, but it's massively in the minority. If you want some stats, check this out. In the year 2000, nearly 1 billion CDs were sold, and in 2017, around 90 million CDs were sold. That is under 10%. 10% of what was sold 17 years earlier, and it's not getting any better. And people are saying to me, well, what about vinyl? Vinyl's on the up. Vinyl is selling. It is selling, however, it has come from nothing. It has risen from the ashes because nobody used to buy vinyl. And also there is something else which I haven't said in the last two videos, which was in 2017, the top 10 selling vinyl for the whole year included Fleetwood Mac, The Beatles, Oasis, David Bowie, Guardians of the Galaxy, which was a compilation album of 60s and 70s tracks, and also Amy Winehouse. 3 of these artists aren't with us anymore. Most of them are from the 60s and 70s, and the only artists that were in the charts who were relevant to today's market is Rag and Bone Man, and number 1 was Ed Sheeran. And let's face it, Ed Sheeran could shit out a dead rabbit and people are still gonna buy it. So it goes to show that people are buying vinyl, but are they buying new bands' vinyl? And the second problem is this DIY approach. We know that we have control. We don't need the gatekeeper. We can now take control of our music career and make something happen without a record label. But there comes a problem, which is that means whilst you can do it, you are now in charge of the process of writing, of recording, of managing, of tours, of PR, of press, of social media, of marketing, of advertising. I don't know about you, but there is so much to do that it's become really, really difficult to focus on the art. So what we need right now is a clear plan. We need focus, and anything that we don't need to be working on needs to be pushed to the side so we are working on just the most important things. Now on to why I'm suggesting giving the music away instead of selling it. It's because it's a mindset, because we're looking at this focus, because we're not telling the audience, here it is for free, can you also go and buy it? Unless it's attached to something on a gig, and we've talked about this, I see that as merchandise. I know a lot of you don't. I see selling 5, 10, 15, 20 CDs at a gig as merch, like a t-shirt, but we'll come on to that. But it's a mindset of what is it that you are trying to achieve and what is it that you want the audience to do. If you can think like this, everything revolves around this idea of building and looking after the audience, making the audience do something that it doesn't really want to do, i.e. buy a CD when there's no CD player in a car and there's no CD player in their laptop, means you are forcing them a lot of the times to do something. And if they love the band, they will. I'm not saying they won't, but you're trying to force people to buy music when they don't need to. Now, once we can build the audience, which we are going to do by looking after them like they've never been looked after before, once we can do that, we can monetize the whole thing and not just try and monetize the music. Because when we're trying to monetize the music, again, we are trying to get them to buy stuff, and they're not really that up for it when you look at the general public. So we are going to look at rewarding them. Give and give and give and give and give, but we're going to monetize it elsewhere. But this is the best bit. This is where we can monetize an audience in this day and age. We can make so much more money if we've got the audience rather than trying to get that audience to part with an extra 5 or 10 quid. And this is how we're going to do it. Now, if you're giving your music away, the way you'll do this is, yes, it will be on streaming services, but you're looking onto social media on how you can now take the content, which are your songs, and how you can package them up and wrap them up to give them to your audience and also by your audience. One of the big things that people say is, I want to use this to build my audience. Well, that's great, because if you make a great music video and a great song, why can't you get into the DMs on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube and start messaging people and saying, hey, I saw you love this band or this album. I think you'd love my band. I would love to know what you think of it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. And then you leave it there. And you do that 100 times a day, or 500 times a day, or 1,000 times a day. You do that again and again and again and again, and people will go, oh, it's really good, that, I like it. Lots of people will say, I didn't like it, or won't listen to it. But you're getting your music out there because you're using the music to build relationships, to talk to people. Everyone's talking about community. Well, in your genre, if you're a metal artist, what better way than to talk about the music that you love? I saw you went to that concert because I saw you hashtagged it on Instagram. I think you'd really like my band, and I would love it if you'd have a listen. I'd love to know your thoughts. The band's kicking off, and I'd love to have a chat with you about metal because we're all metalers together. That makes complete sense to me. You're using the music as a vehicle to give it away to build your audience. Now, put all that together, and what do you get? You get ticket sales, because you build the audience and then you go on tour. So when you look at the biggest artists in the world, they aren't making the majority of their money from selling. They're making the majority of their money from touring and also streaming. And number 2, once you're building the audience, you can start to monetize it. So the next thing is merch. And a lot of you are going, well, that's your answer, is it? Merch. Yes, but let me tell you the difference between trying to sell music and trying to sell merch. It's the perception and the consumption. So most people, and I'm not talking about music tech heads or other musicians, because they aren't buying music, you're trying to force them into something where they go, oh, I don't know what to do with this, I haven't really got it, it's an ornament, I can't show it off. There is no social proofing, there's no social currency when I've got a CD, because unless I put it on Instagram, I can't hold it, I can't take it down the pub with me, whereas a t-shirt I can. I want to be a part of your community, and I want to show the rest of the world that I am a part of this community. That's why Slipknot made so many t-shirts and hoodies throughout the 90s and the 2000s, because everybody wanted to show off that they were into Slipknot. And before that, it was Iron Maiden. Everyone had an Iron Maiden t-shirt because they wanted to show to the world that they were part of that tribe. There's a difference between selling merch and selling music, which is harder. So why not build a community and give people the opportunity to buy into something that they've got social currency to show off to the world that they are in your tribe. And look at the stats. When you look at YouTube and YouTubers who do this very, very well, they are selling millions on merch. In fact, they are selling so much more on merch than they are getting from streaming on YouTube. It makes sense as a business model.
The toughest merch in the game, fanjoy.co/Jake Paul, loyalty sweatshirts are now available. Okay.
And number 3, I've actually got 4, so stick around. But number 3, brand sponsorships. Now, back in the day, we needed a record label to fund what we did because we had to make a very expensive record, we had to manufacture it, and we had to distribute it, very expensive. And then there was all the other costs of promotion and ads. So half of that has gone, but we still have a lot of work to do. And it costs money, so why not get someone else to pay for it? When you've built the audience and you're in control, why not go and get some brand awareness from a company who will come on board and pay you for advertising to your audience. And it can be a bit of a collab. This happens all of the time in sport, in TV, in films. It happens or on YouTube. It just doesn't seem to happen in the music industry because of this selling out thing. But you don't have to go and sell out to some company that you don't like. If you're in a punky band, why wouldn't you want to be endorsed by DC Shoes or Vans trainers? If you're in a metal band, why wouldn't you want to be endorsed by Jackson guitars? It makes sense to do a collab. And these companies are looking to get reach. They're looking to put their brand with a brand that's cool for brand awareness and brand sponsorship. That's what influencer marketing is. It's basically just two partners coming together to kind of promote each other. So imagine if you could make £10,000 for going and making that record, but in the record you have to say a massive thank you to this company who've made it happen. Here's the logo. We've got a link on our website. All of that then comes in a few posts on Instagram where you're saying thank you. Why wouldn't you say thank you? A company that you admire that's giving you money to do stuff. This makes sense to me. Rather than trying to eke out £5 from your audience. Why not build the audience, look after your audience, love the audience, give, and then look to a bit more corporate sponsorship from someone else and saying, yeah, I don't want these guys to pay. I will do this. Now that's what I would do. And in fact, if you look at this channel, I do this every day. This costs me a lot of money. I'm not going to say how much, but it's tens of thousands of pounds to keep this stuff going. Who funds that? Me. Who pays for it? Everything. Me. It's all me because I really want to do it. It's like my hobby. It's my passion, like your music is. Am I going to ask you to pay for it? No. Because I think if I'm coming to you going, oh, can I just have a £5 for this? Can I have a £10 for that? I could do that. Absolutely. But you know what's easier is for me to look after you every single day like you've never been looked after before. And in a year or 2 years or 3 years time, I go to a company and I say, I'm going to do this video, but I need you to give me £5 for sticking a little advert at the end. And they say, fine. And you guys go, well, as long as I get the information coming to me, that's fine. At the end, it's an extra 30-second advert from Damo saying, I use Fender guitars, for example. It makes sense to me. So why don't we bring that into the music industry? And lastly, this one's a big one and something I've talked about before, and it hasn't been done, but I think a band is going to do this and I think they're going to win big. We are living in a time where content is king, and we are nosy and we want to get into people's lives. Imagine if a band gave access to their life, to their fan base via video and film and live Facebook and live Instagram, but they did it in a way which was cut off for a subscription service. i.e., if you pay £10 a month or £5 or £1 or whatever you want it to be, if you pay that per month, then you get a subscription service to the band. Bands have been doing subscriptions for 50 or 60 years since the Beatles, but this would be a new way of doing it, which was all about content, and it would be a glimpse into their life. So a band like Biffy Clyro or the Foo Fighters are filming themselves in Maida Vale and saying, hey, we're at Maida Vale, we're going to do this track, you get to see it first, but you guys get to see it because you're the subscribers and we treat you like VIPs and you get to see behind the scenes. People will pay 150 quid to go and see the Foo Fighters live. So why wouldn't they pay 10, 20, 30 pounds a month to actually be subscribed to the Foo Fighters to get all of this background knowledge, all of this information of behind the scenes? I've got Dave Grohl on my phone talking to me being like, hey guys, I just want to let you know, this is what we're up to today. You can't get this anywhere else. All of a sudden, you've got leverage, you've got power. Now, if the Foo Fighters charged £10 a month, let's say 100 quid a year, what are they going to get? 1 million people who are going to sign up? 1 million people at £10 a month. Do the maths. That's £10 million a month. That's £100 million a year for the sake of basically hiring a couple of video people and some geeky techie people to find a way of actually putting that content so that it doesn't go to the whole world. The maths work out. And for people going, it's different for the Foo Fighters, everything is relative. You could do £1 a month. You could do a tenner for a year. Instead of doing an album for a tenner, do it as for 10 quid, what you get is behind the scenes, and this is where we put it. It's going to be on a private Facebook group. You pay a tenner a month, we'll add you to the private Facebook group, and then you get all of this behind the scenes footage of us. All of a sudden, you've got leverage. People want to see. The people who want to support you will buy it. The people who are going, well, I want to buy your music or listen to your music, they're going to listen to it, they're going to want more of the journey, they're going to go there, they're going to pay it. This idea of a subscription charge, I don't understand why you've got it in so many other aspects of the world, but we haven't got it in the music industry. So those are just a few ideas. I mean, I'm talking about innovation, I'm talking about what's next. But what I am saying is, why are we fighting, trying to sell music when the market of selling music is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and we are devaluing what we are doing, our art, in order to try and make an extra 5 or 10 quid to stay on the road? That to me isn't right. You guys should be paid for your art. I am in agreement. I am with you on that. I just don't feel like selling it 5 times a week in order to get by is the right answer when I'm looking at YouTubers doing it in a different way and making millions and millions of pounds. If we can change our thinking a little bit, we can change the music industry. So instead of being the music industry, it's just your industry. That's where we're at. We're standing on the edge of a cliff, and what happens next is up to us. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'm sure more people are going to call me an idiot, but I'm hoping that a couple of you will actually buy into this strategy and make it work so that I can then use your examples to show other people that there are other ways. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or dislike this if you want to, or like it. But do me a favor, come and be part of this community, because every day I'm making videos on how you can take your music career to the next level, and I'd love you to be involved. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the comments.